lifting properly, as it can be a little awkward if not practiced regularly. Lifting is something that most of us think we know how to do, but too often we end up using the wrong techniques. As a result, we increase our chance of back injury. Here are the correct steps for proper lifting. Size up the load. If you think it is too heavy for you to lift by yourself, get help. Stand straight with your head and shoulders back. Arch the curve of your lower back inward. Tighten your stomach muscles. Bend your knees and squat down over the object. Get a good grip. Lift, keeping your back straight and using your leg muscles. Keep the object close to your body. Never bend at the waist or twist to the side with the object in your hands. Set the object down using your leg muscles and bending at the knees. Be sure to keep your back straight as you lower the object. The most important thing to remember is to think before you lift. Substance and alcohol abuse policy. Swift Lumber Company is dedicated to a safe, healthy, and efficient work environment. The use or presence of controlled substances or alcohol on company property is strictly prohibited. To ensure an alcohol and drug-free workplace, the company may test an employee for alcohol and/or controlled substances and may conduct searches of company property, including work areas, lockers, and equipment at any time. You may be tested under the following circumstances. Pre-employment. After you have been offered a job, you will be required to submit to a drug and/or alcohol test. As a condition of employment, you must have a confirmed negative drug and/or alcohol test result. For cause or suspicion, if you are observed acting strangely, your demeanor has changed, you have increased absenteeism or tardiness, or you smell of alcohol, you may be required to submit to testing. Random testing. Testing for all employees may be conducted on a random basis throughout the year. Post-accident. If you are involved in an accident that causes bodily harm to you or another employee, and/or there is a product damage, you may be subject to a drug and/or alcohol test. Any confirmed positive test for illegal drugs or alcohol may result in the termination of your employment. If you are taking prescription drugs or over-the-counter medications, you must disclose these at the time of testing. Also, if you are taking any prescription medications or over-the-counter medications that would affect your job performance, let your supervisor know immediately. Machine guarding requirements. As you probably know by now, Swift Lumber Company is a manufacturer of pine lumber, transmission poles, and various other products. To manufacture these products, the mill site contains various types of machines and equipment. Almost every machine that we operate has moving parts that must be guarded. These machines may have hazardous areas such as points of operation, in-running nip points, rotating chains and sprockets, V-belts and pulleys, and other various types of rotating parts. Additionally, some equipment may produce flying chips or sparks. Machine guards are generally installed over hazards to prevent hands, arms, or any other parts of your body from making contact with these dangerous moving parts. It is absolutely critical that every machine guard be in proper working condition, installed correctly, and never modified unless approved by management. Before performing work on any machine or equipment, whether guarded or unguarded, you must follow Swift Lumber Company's lockout procedures. If you have not received specific lockout training, you are not authorized to perform work on any equipment. If you do remove a machine guard, you are personally responsible to ensure that it is properly reinstalled before restarting the equipment. Also, constantly check the machines in your work area and immediately report to your supervisor any damaged or missing guards. If everyone keeps a diligent watch and immediately reports any guarding problems, we will have a much safer work environment. Housekeeping. Good housekeeping is an integral part of our business. It not only makes for a safer workplace, but also improves morale and productivity. Here are some basic housekeeping tips to follow. Keep your work area neat and clean. Don't leave scrap and materials lying around. Immediately clean up any spilled liquids or other materials that could cause someone to slip. Stairs, aisles, and catwalks must always be kept clear and free of any trip hazards. All materials should be properly stored and arranged. Items stored in racks and shelving must be stable and secure. Waste containers are provided for trash. Please use them. Remember, housekeeping is everyone's responsibility. You are expected to do your part. Personal protective equipment. Let's take a few minutes to talk about personal protective equipment, or PPE for short. OSHA requires that we conduct an assessment of hazards in our work area. If hazards are observed, we are obligated to correct them if we possibly can. But there are instances where all hazards cannot be totally eliminated. If they cannot be eliminated, the use of personal protective equipment is required to protect our employees. Personal protective equipment that we use are hard hats, eye protection, face shield, gloves, steel-toed boots, earplugs or earmuffs, and other equipment such as saw chaps and personal fall arrest systems. Hard hats are required when there is a potential danger of injury to the head from falling objects. Eye protection is required when there is a potential danger of injury to eyes from flying particles, molten metals such as grinding, cutting, or welding, and chemical splashes. Face shields are required for metal grinding, chemical splashes, or other facial hazards. Safety glasses must be worn under the face shield when grinding metal. Gloves are required for certain jobs due to the potential for laceration, splinters, hazardous chemical contact, or thermal burns. Steel-toed boots are required when there is a potential danger of injury to the feet from falling or rolling objects. Earplugs or earmuffs are required in areas that exceed the noise exposure limit. Overexposure to loud noise will damage your hearing. To protect your hearing, you must follow proper procedures when inserting your earplug. Roll and squeeze the earplug between your fingers. With your hand, reach over the head and pull the top of your ear up and outward to straighten the ear canal. Insert the earplug down inside the ear canal and hold it while it expands. Saw chaps are required leg protection anytime you use a chainsaw. A personal fall arrest system, so harness and lanyard, is required if you work higher than 4 feet from the floor, ground, or platform where there is no other fall protection such as handrails. Dust masks are available if you need one. Although masks are not required, some people may be sensitive to small amounts of dust. Contact the purchasing department or your supervisor if you feel you need a dust mask. Whether you use a company-issued dust mask or provide your own mask, you should take precautions to be sure that the dust mask itself does not prevent a hazard. Also, if you provide your own mask, be aware that for the purpose of filtering dust, OSHA does not allow the use of dust masks with more than one strap. If you choose to wear a dust mask, you should do the following. Read and heed all instructions provided by the manufacturer on the use, maintenance, cleaning, care, and warnings regarding the dust mask limitations. Choose masks certified for the use to protect you against contaminant of concern, such as non-toxic dust. A label or statement of certification should appear on the dust mask or packaging. It will tell you what the dust mask is designed for and how much it will protect you. Do not wear your dust mask into atmospheres containing contaminants for which it was not designed. For example, a mask designed to filter dust particles will not protect you against gases, vapors, or very small solid particles of fumes or smoke. Masks should be checked regularly and disposed of if there are any signs of cracks, discoloration, holes, or strap wear. Dispose of masks if it becomes clogged with debris or dust. Used masks should be stored where they can be kept clean or disposed of if they are no longer usable. Always keep track of your dust masks so that you do not mistakenly use someone else's. You must keep all your PPE in good working condition. Replace it if it becomes damaged. Take care of it and store your equipment properly. If you need to replace your personal protective equipment, see your supervisor or purchasing department. Remember that your PPE is designed to protect you from hazards that you might encounter in our workplace. If you have any questions about when and where you are required to wear your personal protective equipment, see your supervisor. And always remember this, if you don't wear your equipment or you don't wear it properly, it cannot protect you. Lockout and tagout, the control of hazardous energy. To protect you while working on machinery or equipment, Swift Lumber Company has implemented an effective lockout program. This program covers the servicing and maintenance of machines and equipment in which the unexpected energization or startup of the machines or equipment or release of stored energy could cause you to be injured. This program establishes minimum performance requirements for the control of such hazardous energy. Unless you are specifically trained, you will not be allowed to lock out the equipment. You must have the knowledge, skills, training, and necessary lockout equipment to perform a lockout process. Until you have been properly trained, you must not be involved in the lockout process of equipment. Under no circumstances should you ever attempt to remove a lock or in any way attempt to operate or circumvent a locked out piece of equipment. If you receive training from your supervisor and authorization from the company to perform the lockout process, you are then considered an authorized employee. You must understand all aspects of the lockout program, including the sequence of locking and unlocking equipment. The correct sequence for lockout procedures are as follows. Notify all affected employees that servicing or maintenance is required on a machine or equipment, that the machine or equipment must be shut down and locked out to perform the servicing or maintenance. The authorized employee shall refer to the company procedure for the particular equipment to be locked out. This will identify the type and magnitude of the energy that the machine or equipment utilizes. The authorized employee shall refer to the company procedure for the particular equipment to be locked out. This will identify the type and magnitude of the energy that the machine or equipment utilizes. The employee shall understand the hazards of the energy and shall know the methods to control the energy. You should note that all written lockout procedures are available in each department. See your supervisor for specific procedures details. If the machine or equipment is operating, shut it down by the normal stopping procedure. Depress the stop button, open switch, close valve, etc. Deactivate the energy isolating devices so that the machine or equipment is isolated from the energy sources. Lock out the energy isolating devices with assigned individual locks. Locks will be issued to all authorized employees. You must work under the protection of your own lock. Stored or residual energy, such as that in capacitors, springs, elevated machine members, rotating flywheels, hydraulic systems, air, gas, steam, or water pressure, must be dissipated or restrained by methods such as grounding, repositioning, blocking, bleeding down, etc. Ensure that the equipment is disconnected from the energy sources by first checking that no personnel are exposed. Then verify the isolation of the equipment by operating the push button or other normal operating controls, or by testing to make certain the equipment will not operate. A word of caution: return all operating controls to neutral or off position after verifying the isolation of the equipment. The machine or equipment is now locked out. Restoring equipment to service. When the servicing or maintenance is completed and the machine or equipment is ready to return to the normal operating condition, the following steps shall be taken. Check the machine or equipment and the immediate area around the machine to ensure that non-essential items have been removed and that the machine or equipment components are operationally intact. Check the work area to ensure that all employees have been safely positioned or removed from the area. Verify that the controls are in neutral. Remove the lockout devices and re-energize the machine or equipment. Note, the removal of some forms of blocking may require re-energization of the machine before safe removal. Notify affected employees that the servicing or maintenance is completed and the machine or equipment is ready for use. Your supervisor will issue you any needed lockout equipment and ensure that you are knowledgeable in the lockout procedures before authorizing you to lock out. If you have any questions concerning this program, please see your supervisor. Electrical safety. Be very cautious when working around electrical equipment. Basic rules are: keep control and breaker boxes closed and clear of materials at all times. Do not use electrical equipment or activate electrical circuits if your hands are wet or if you are standing in water. You must not use electrical cords that are frayed, taped, or have missing ground prongs. Use only hand tools with 3-prong grounded plugs or double insulated tools. Report any damaged electrical equipment to your supervisor immediately. If you are not an authorized electrician, do not attempt to repair electrical circuits or equipment. Hazard communication, the right to know law. The Hazard Communication Standard, also known as the Right to Know Law, was first enacted on November 25, 1983, by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. The purpose of the standard was to ensure that chemical hazards in the workplace are identified and evaluated, and that information concerning these hazards is communicated to all employees. This transfer of information is accomplished by means of a comprehensive hazard communication program, which includes container labeling and other forms of warning, material safety data sheets, and employee training. The Hazard Communication Standard is comprised of 5 major categories. The categories are hazard determination, material safety data sheets, chemical labeling, employee training, and the written hazard communication program. Let us discuss each category of the program. The first category, hazard determination, requires Swift Lumber Company to identify and evaluate all chemicals used in the workplace. The second major category of the standard is the Material Safety Data Sheet, or commonly referred to as an MSDS. Once all the chemicals in the workplace were evaluated and identified, we obtained a MSDS for each item. These MSDS sheets contain specific chemical hazard information such as physical hazards, health hazards, routes of entry, exposure limits, precautions for safe handling and use, spill cleanup procedures, personal protective equipment to be used, first aid procedures, and the name, address, and telephone number of the chemical manufacturer. All of the information on the MSDS is in English and is available to you if you are working with or near the hazardous chemicals. A copy of all MSDSs and the written hazard communication programs are located in the safety room and the safety coordinator's office. The third category, chemical labeling, requires labels on all chemicals in the workplace. The labels contain the identity of the material, the appropriate hazard warnings, and the name and address of the manufacturer, importer, or other responsible party. Other appropriate warning information such as pictures and symbols may be used for certain chemicals in conjunction with hazard information. Labels must always be legible. Please help us keep chemical containers properly labeled. If you see an unlabeled container that you suspect contains hazardous chemicals, please notify your supervisor. The fourth category, employee training, requires Swift Lumber Company to provide you with effective information and training of hazardous chemicals in your work area at the time of your initial assignment and whenever a new physical or health hazard is introduced into your area. The training will include methods and observations used to detect the presence or release of the chemical, physical and health hazards, protective measures, labeling, and explanation of the MSDS. If you have any questions, see your supervisor. The fifth category is the written program. This requires Swift Lumber Company to fully document the actions taken to comply with all of the provisions of the standard and to list the responsible person for each area of the program. The written programs are contained in the MSDS notebooks located in the safety room and in the safety coordinator's office. Areas that you should be aware of that contain the largest quantity of our hazardous chemicals are the boilers, the sawmill dip tank, and the pole and lumber treatment facilities. It should be noted that Swift Lumber Company does not have an abundance of hazardous chemicals on the mill site, so don't be alarmed when we talk about hazardous chemicals. Just be informed. If you are working near chemicals and you do not know what they are, or have any questions concerning those chemicals, be sure to contact your supervisor immediately. Material handling equipment. You must be trained and authorized by the company to operate any type of